What extremely rare thing did you witness in person?
An airborne decapitation. At an air show as a kid, 30-ish years ago. They were doing a skydiving trick, where 2 divers spiraled downward, then 2 planes spiraled around them downward. One of the planes hit a skydiver, killing him. Last air show I ever went to.
In South Africa, thunderstorms are quite common, but they were always the usual sheet or fork lightning, nothing special. The one time there were these strange-looking storm clouds very high up above us, much higher than regular storm thunderclouds, and the lightning was these slow-moving bolts. Think of a short laser beam of lightning shooting between these clouds. It was the wackiest thing I ever saw.
Was it traveling up and or across? Sounds like it could be spider lightning. When lightning travels up the cloud, it can take a long time because of the distance. Spider lightning. Link.
It wasn't forked lightning, nor were they solid lines of lightning that grew in length. It was literally short bolts shooting between the clouds. Think Star Wars pew-pew lasers, but in the form of small individual pieces of lightning shooting slowly from one cloud across to the other. I had another search on Google Images. This is the closest thing I could find to the shape of it. Obviously they were more lightning-colored and not the blue in this image. Link. So just imagine these, shooting between the clouds at random intervals.
I saw a wheel come loose off a van as it attempted a right-hand turn. The wheel rolled through traffic into the open bay of a tire store across the street. 1 in a million odds. I was on a train and nobody else in the train car saw it happen.
LMAO, imagine if the tire store tried to sell the tire back to the owner.
Huge section of cliff falling into the Gallatin River. Easily the size of a football field came down all at once.
I witnessed my buddy hit a hole-in-one on a par 4. Dude had never played golf minus frequent driving range visits and was having a horrific day before it.
1996 Maldives. I am sat in the bar, alone drinking a cocktail and enjoying the view over the flat calm lagoon. The bar juts out into the lagoon, so it is surrounded by water apart from a little bit joining it to the island. Suddenly a small fish jumps out of the water. Then it jumps again but higher, and then a third time a little higher still. It takes the fourth jump at about 90 degrees to the other 3. And then a f-off big fish with teeth and everything jumps out of the water and catches it in the air. Then the lagoon went back to flat calm. Edit. A couple of suggestions that the f-off big fish was a barracuda. I have looked up barracudas and I reckon the suggestions are right. That's cool. I'm glad I posted. Thank you.
I saw a grizzly bear and a wolf feed on the same bison carcass at the same time in Yellowstone.
Boys' night out.
I saw a bird poo directly into a woman's mouth once.
When we were about 7, I watched my buddy look up during recess at school only for a seagull to poo directly into his eye. He just looked at me and then ran away crying to the nurse.
Saw a manta ray leap out of the water and over a family playing in the water just off the coast of South Carolina. It didn't make a sound or as much as a splash. I was pretty young but remember it as clear as yesterday. One of the most beautiful things I have ever witnessed. Also quite amazing how big those things are.
Flying to Reno back in the 90s. There was this awesome comet that turned out to have a bigger display than people predicted. I forget which comet it was, winter of 96 or 97. Anyway, looked out the window. Clear sky, full moon lighting up the mountains, and this big-ass comet hanging below the moon. It was awesome.
Hale-Bopp comet probably. I remember seeing it and it was awesome. Also famous for being the inspiration for the Heaven's Gate cult mass suicide.
I saw a fish fall out of the sky during a particularly rainy day. Hit the ground and got swept into the gutter.
I found a fish in my front yard, miles and miles from water.
Fire rainbows are pretty rare, mostly just drenching a corner of a cloud in colors. One day at an airshow, my dad and I as well as about 50 other people witnessed the most extravagant color show I've ever seen. Fire rainbows were in half the sky. It was the most beautiful natural event I've ever seen.
July 2011. I say to my wife the International Space Station is going over tonight, it's a clear sky, and we agree to pop out to the country where there is less light pollution and take the kids who are 12 and 8. We park in a field gate and the youngest boy sees it first. We watch and it goes overhead, and then splits in two. We watch it, I am thinking has it broken up or something, the two parts slowly move apart. We are puzzled, I drive home and thinking any disaster would be on the news, so I watch that. Turns out, the final shuttle mission had just been completed and we had watched Shuttle Atlantis depart the ISS for the final time.
Now that's crazy cool.
I saw someone take off their cap and stamp on it like they do in cartoons.
I saw a guy kick the poo out of his car because he was broken down on the side of the road. As I drove by, he kicked the car and then hopped around in a big circle on the other foot as he held onto the foot he'd probably just broken.
Back in the 1980s, I was on a plane and saw the space shuttle being carried piggyback on another plane.
I saw a shuttle launch from Canaveral in the early 90s from my grandparents' front yard. Maybe not as big of a deal nowadays with all the launches going on. But it blew my mind and instantly got me into space-related things.
I saw Niagara Falls mostly frozen over in February 2015. It was eerily quiet.
I watched a small, unmanned boat go over Niagara Falls, the only time I've ever been there. When the news reported it later, they said it had broken free of its mooring and floated down to the falls.
Saw two turtle doves fly into each other head-on.
They were probably distracted by the partridge in the pear tree.
Halley's Comet in 1986. Lots of people saw it. But it is still rare. 11-year-old me took a tent and camped out by a local dam with friends. Clear night and got a great look at it. Edit. If I make it to 87, I'll get the opportunity to see it twice and then I'll revisit this thread with an even rarer occurrence, tears of joy. Edit 2. Corrected spelling of Halley's.
This reminds me of a comic I saw. The first panel is Halley's Comet and a small child saying, "Hello Halley's Comet." The second panel is Halley's Comet and an old man saying, "Hello Halley's Comet." The third panel is just Halley's Comet. And that's how I was introduced to existential dread.
I was there when the German crews were tearing down the last part of the Berlin Wall that was to be removed. It was the double wall section near the Doppel using area. We followed along and busted some chunks off and picked up pieces to take home.
Northern Lights near my house. It usually doesn't happen that far south.
Good Lord, what is happening in there? Aurora Borealis. Are Aurora Borealis at this time of year, at this time of day in this part of the country localized entirely within your kitchen? Yes.
My grandfather took me to the hockey game where Buffalo Sabres goalie Clint Malarchuk had his carotid artery cut and his jugular vein partially sliced by an errant hockey skate. He was bleeding out on the ice in front of our eyes. The Sabres trainer, who had been a U.S. Army combat medic in Vietnam, knew to reach in the wound and pinch off the artery to save his life.
I saw someone drive off with the nozzle from the gas pump. It triggered the fire suppression system and everything looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man exploded.
When I was 16 or 17, I had just finished filling my tank and got in my car and was slowly pulling away when I saw the gas station attendant sprinting at my car. I kept slowly advancing while wondering WTF he was doing. He full-on sprinted and yanked the nozzle out of my gas tank. I had no idea, but even to this day I think, what a hero. Saved my dumb ass from embarrassment and saved his gas pump too.
In 1974 I was living in Delray Beach and I was hanging out at the back door looking out talking to my sister who lived in Illinois. All of a sudden there was a huge ball of fire in the sky and I told her I thought an airplane had just exploded over the West Palm Beach airport. Later, watching the news, I learned that it was a meteor that had fallen into Lake Okeechobee.
Wow, your voice must carry.
I was sitting at an outdoor bar and watch a fly buzzing around just drop dead all of a sudden and land next to me. I touched it with my finger to see if it would move a leg or something, but it was 100% dead.
One time I saw a grasshopper just keel over and die. Then I realized how rare dying of old age must be in the insect world. I was swimming in the Pacific when 4 dolphins swam up to me, danced in circles, and swam between my legs. When they got close again, I noticed one of the 4 looked more like a baby orca, that was a bright indigo color with a very tall dorsal fin. It barely looked real. I pet them all and they swam off to play in the waves. It was the most magical moment of my life.
I didn't know this, but dolphins are social and curious as poo. We had a party on a boat and in my country there's a bunch of dolphins, they legit just watch you and follow you around, it's super strange. They're like people.
Actually saw a tree fall in the forest onto the trail ahead of us as we were hiking in a national park.
Did it make a sound?
I knew that one was coming. Yes, it did, and the people on the trail who had just passed under that trail certainly heard it too.
Ball of lightning. God, that poo is bizarre. I was 14 and I just saw it going down some train tracks. After it disappeared, there was this loud boom and I'm not sure if it exploded or made contact with something or someone.
My first trip to Vegas, I was at the roulette wheel. Yeah, I know. Guy walks up to the table and puts something like $500 on green. Turns to me and says, "Green's going to hit, you should bet on it." I don't. The ball drops, and hits green. Dude says, "Let it ride." I still don't bet green. Ball drops and it hits green the second time in a row. Guy cashes out and leaves the table. I leave too, but I'm feeling really stupid by then.
Time travel gets invented. You go back to the casino, but the guy doesn't show up. You know it's gonna be green. You can't miss this opportunity again. You walk up to the table, put all the money you had for the whole trip on green, $500, and tell your past self it's gonna hit. But past you just brushes it off. You go green again, win both, walk off with both bets, and get home with the story of the century.
Saw a biker gang in Texas putting on sunblock.
I can already picture the gang leader responsibly caring for his buffed and bearded men and instructing them to wear their helmet, sunglasses and to apply their suncream before driving under the blazing sun.
I saw a woman slip on a banana peel.
As a child I was so positive that was some cartoon stuff, but I clearly never had the opportunity to see if it was real until one day at recess. We were all walking to the field where we went for recess, and on the concrete path was a discarded banana peel. Why was it there? Who knows? But on this day, I decided to say nothing and stand off to the side of the path and watch as the rest of the kids came running to the field. Poor Samantha S., she got one foot on that thing mid-run and it's like friction ceased to exist. Couldn't believe it. To this day, I am sorry Samantha S. for not warning you about the banana peel, but your fall was in the service of science.
When I was 8, I saw another 8-year-old follow this older fat dude cross the apartment complex looking for his lost dog. I came up to her and told her that there's something going on with him and that he told another person earlier that he lost his cat and now he's saying he lost his dog, and I told her that we both need to get away from him, but she said that she's going to keep helping him, and I said okay and left. I got on the swing set and watched both of them disappear around the corner of a building. The very next day there was a knock at my apartment door and it was 2 officers. They were going door to door asking about the disappearance of a little girl, and I told them what I knew. A week later there was caution tape all over her apartment door. She was murdered. I was the very last person to talk to her. My older cousin was teaching me and my younger cousin how to play poker. My younger cousin had 4 out of 5 cards for a royal straight flush. My older cousin told him not to draw more cards because the chances of getting a royal straight flush was pretty much impossible, and was imploring him not to do it. My younger cousin did it anyways and got a effing royal straight flush. We all lost our minds and laugh about it 15 years later as adults.
The odds of this are 1 in 2.5 million.
My gramps used to play blackjack on the original NES. One day he tried teaching me how to play. I was 6 or so. I had a face card and a 7. He told me to stay. I hit. Got a 3 and he had a fit. Now he's doubling the pressure on me to stand. Stay at 20. I didn't like the pressure but found his expressions hilarious. He was really into blackjack. So, I hit, got an ace, and he proceeded to pace around the house swearing about how lucky I was. Best time ever. Edit. Whoa, woke up to this. Thanks for the awards. It really is one of the best moments I had with my grandfather. And I love the rare card win stories.
Friend of mine playing 21 in Red Dead Redemption, had never played before, got 20, hit it and got an ace. I did the same thing as your gramps.
Saw someone drop their phone into the tiny gap between the elevator floor and the hallway floor. There was a good 10 seconds of stunned silence before anyone even said anything. The girl's boyfriend immediately started rambling about how they needed to go buy a lottery ticket. She was not as amused by this as he was. We were also on the 20-something floor, so absolutely zero chance of recovering said phone.
I saw a guy at work, who I wasn't very good friends with, playing with some dice on his desk after a shift, and saw him roll snake eyes 8 times in a row. I was baffled. He seemed like he does it all the time, as he had no expression on his face afterwards.
This is something you can train yourself to do if you learn how to palm it with both one sides facing it up and then spin them together horizontally. Do it quickly enough and the optical illusion will make you think it's tumbling even though it's not. This is why casinos A. require the dice to hit the inside wall and B. have pyramid bumper around the inside. It forces the dice to tumble.
My mate Ozzy paying for a round in 2003. Never happened before or since. 2017 full solar eclipse. It was amazing. A perfectly clear sunny day in August for a few short minutes became dark as night and the sun looked like a black hole with a quasar surrounding it. Then a moment later it was sunny again.
I saw the turn signal of a BMW once.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.